Morning, friends. Morning, morning, morning. How is everybody? It's 10 o'clock. It's time for Make It Monday. Hopefully it'll pop up on the computer. But good morning. We're going to do some fun fall colored project today. I have lots of different things. Hopefully one of these will grab your attention and give you ideas. How many are out there creating, especially with your folks, fall items? Leaves, and that's what we're going to concentrate on today, leaves, and which might open up thoughts and ideas of all different things. But we're going to get started by doing some leaves, just some simple, I think relatively easy. We can make them a little more challenging for some folks. And it might give you ideas on how to break down the task for different folks that you support. So let's get started. All right. Let me see. I'm going to just checking on the tech, of course. Always, huh? Let's see. If you hop on, say hello. I'd appreciate it. There we go. Okay, we're good. We're good. So, all right. I have today, I think I gave you a little sneak peek of different pictures. I have crayons. I have these water-soluble crayons type. I got watercolors. I got colored pencils. It's endless on what tools we could use, huh? So I have different kinds of papers. So I'm going to show you. I have regular copy paper here. Then I have cardstock. And I have watercolor paper that I found some leaf shapes that I printed off on the paper. So how many of you have access to a copy machine or a printer? And that going on Canva or free images, coloring pages, all those things are options out there for you guys to get ideas and support to complete an activity. And I'll even show you, I even have some leaves that I got at the dollar store. And we might use those too. I can show you something. So that's even a no color option. Okay, so let's get started. Hello. So I'm going to start with just simple copy paper and color. Okay, so I have a bunch of fall colored crayons. I've had a bag of leftover crayons that we probably were going to use for melted crayon art. So that'll work just fine. So you could just encourage somebody to color. And that's what I'm going to do right here. And I even have it on my paper, so it kind of gives some feedback, texture on. And you know what? Don't worry about going outside the lines. Okay. Now, what I did here is I put a darker, I outlined it with my marker. That gives people more idea where the boundary is. Now, I would do this before you start coloring because the crayon it's hard to get the marker to stick as well. So, but I just wanted to show you. Okay, this one is already thicker outlined, so that would work. But when we get to some of the others, we might outline them. So you could just let them go to town. Different colors. Got a green here. See, it picked up some of the marker. But if you just outline them early, that's why when you're prepping, you could outline it for them. If you find one that you think is going to do that. All right, let's just do this color up here. And I'm not worried about going outside the lines. So that's just with the crayon. And we can add other colors. I got some yellow here. How about some red? Whoop. Is this looking like any leaves you see as you're out walking around? Ooh, I like that because on this paper, on this, it's adding some little texture, Ooh, I like that. Should we do another little darker green? I like that. Should we add a little green down here? Oh, how many of you have been doing this? If you hop on, let me know. I can't tell if anybody's watching yet, but that's okay. Remember, this is always available, well, for a replay, and then for 30 days anyway, and then I try to remember to save them, and then I might start, my plan is to get them up on my YouTube, so that way they're there, okay? All right, so that's crayon. And then we could cut them out. What would you use these for? You could just make a picture, put them on a card. Maybe we'll think about that later. Today is just about creating them. I'm going to show you something else here in a minute I just thought of. I'm just going to cut that out. You could keep the stem or not. I'm going to cut that one off. We can always add little pieces of something for the stem later. Or you can leave it without the stem. What about this nice weather we're having, guys? Ooh-wee. Pretty darn nice. Are the leaves changing where you are? They haven't been here. Friends of mine who live elsewhere in this United States, like a little more east, are getting color. I can't wait. But I have this park I walk at, and it's just wonderful to see. If you can see, I'm cutting on this line, which is thicker, so it helps give a better boundary for our folks to know where to cut. So I like making a darker edge. Now, if you don't want a black edge, you could do it in a different color. That would work good too. Hopefully this is giving you some ideas. All right. Now, if you didn't want to go back over and cut this out, you could even take your marker and go over those edges a little bit. So that way you didn't have to go back. Because sometimes if I give one of my friends a chance to recut, sometimes, at times, not everybody, but sometimes too much gets cut off then. So that's why I'm showing you to go back over with the marker. Okay. All right. So this is this is plain copy paper. All right, so I'm going to move those aside. All right, let's go to our cardstock. Got something stuck to the back. Okay, now I had colored these both with probably watercolor and crayon. Let's do this big one. Let's see if you can see it. Yeah. All right, let's just start coloring it. I'm going to do this, and then we're going to put a little watercolor. Let's see how it works. Let's experiment and play. And you know, there's still some green leaves on the trees and stuff, even in fall. So you could leave them green. I'm just going to... See, and I went outside the lines. It's okay. Okay, I'm going to do a little red. Okay, let's try putting a little watercolor over this. Okay, I'm going to get my paintbrush wet. Let's see what it does. It kind of reacts and doesn't stick, but it might stick to certain spots that didn't get colored. We're going to see. We're going to dry it and see what happens. Let's do that again. Another thing you could do is if you just had a person that just wanted to paint the whole paper, and then you could print. Use that paper and print in your copy on your printer. Okay, let's take our dryer. Let's see what happens. I think that turned out pretty good. Now, let's go to this one. Let's color this one. And then, if you see, I did this and then I melted crayon on here. Let's see what happens. We're just experimenting today. I'm just going to do all crayon. And remember, if you're going to use a heat tool, safety is utmost importance. So depending on what skill level will determine what tools you use. Just a kind reminder. But you know your folks. You know the folks that you support. And if you're not sure, give them more support to begin with. And then you could always back off once you feel that they're capable of that. Because we'd want them to be as independent as possible. But safety is so important. Okay, let's see what happens if I... Let's see if it melts it at all. Not too much. But you could always see how if I hold the crayon, and drip. How we melt it. Now that's where safety really comes in. When we're holding the crayon, we could put a tool on the end, like tongs, and hold the crayon. So you could have it so your hand is way back here, and the crayon is here, and somebody else could be putting the heat tool. All right? So we're going to let that sit. Look at all these different ideas. What you thinking? Well, I'll just leave it down. Think you can see it better then. There we go. Okay, so those are different ways with that. Let's go. Now this is watercolor paper. This was more of a cardstock. And we did our plain paper. So this is my watercolor. So we can use, I'm gonna move my crayons over. I have watercolors here. And I have my paper. Let's see, I have to go the other way with that. Okay, so I have my water and my paintbrush and my different paints. And we can get some paints ready for us. Let's see, I'm just gonna put some green on there to start, since I already have it. But you put the colors you want. These are yours. And I'm just kind of not even thinking much about it, just picking colors. All right, I'm gonna rinse my paintbrush off, and I'm gonna maybe get some yellow. Let's add some yellow in. What do you think of that? What other color? Maybe a little orange. I like it when there's all different colors, but that's just my choice. Let's put a little red. Okay, let's dry these off. Now, you know that I'm using my heat tool to dry, but you could just set them aside and let them dry naturally. Okay, I'm gonna go back to this one. I'm gonna try moving some of this around a bit. Let's see if I can get it melting a bit. Well, that might have been too much. So sometimes you just have to leave things like they are. Let's just might have been too dark of a green for me anyway. All right, we're gonna leave well enough alone on that one. Yep. And let that dry. All right. So we have a few here, and you could put them, oh, we could even, I'm gonna reach over here. Here's another idea. Okay, my journal pages. We could take some of our finished leaves. This is my journal, one of my journals. And I'm gonna put this over here. And let's put some watercolors on this page. Let's color with my water-soluble crayons. Should I make it into the, like a, let's just see how this works. Okay, I'm going to take my watercolor paintbrush. See how this is something like someone could color and then someone could take their paintbrush. We could even put a handle on that paintbrush. Make it more adapted to hold. You could even put a napkin or a paper towel underneath this page. So it doesn't get on the other pages. This was just something I thought of while we were doing this. Okay. All right. Let's now dry this. Are you getting ideas? That's the whole process. That's the whole idea of this. Make it Monday. Giving you ideas. Okay. Look at all these things we've done. All right, so let's take our leaves. You'll put them on our pages. And that doesn't mean that this page has to be done. It's just a start. So let me put some glue. Let me get my glue stick. And the glue I like to use is this Elmer's Craft Bond extra strength glue stick. It's one I've used for a long time, and I can find it at lots of different places, even Walmart. I'm sure Michael's or the other stores that sell craft supplies have it. So I'm just gonna, and this means I might even add some more later of these leaves, but let's put those on there. What do you think? You could, I'm thinking we should splatter these. What do you think? Put that there. How many of you keep a journal? And I don't mean, it doesn't have to be writing. It doesn't have to be writing. It just could be art. It just could be things you find that you want to keep and have a memory of. Let's see. All right. All right, can you not see that? I am so sorry. That better? Oops. Oops. All right, let's see if we splatter a little. I'm gonna get some, maybe some red. Let's see. Let's get another color. Put some yellow. What do you think of that, my friends? All right, I'm having fun this morning, my friends. Having fun. Isn't that all? If that's what happens, then that is good enough for me. All right. I'm going to move that aside. All right, I'm going to put my crayons away. All right. Let's just dry this page a little bit. So if I close the book, it'll be dry. For now, I might add more to these pages. Man, I gotta keep an eye on the camera so you guys can see. Because when you're working and filming at the same time, it's sometimes a challenge. All right, so we colored leaves with different things, with crayons and even some watercolor. And then we use different papers. And I'll cut these all out later and see what we're going to do with them. And this one was the watercolor. So we have lots. So let us do something else. Let's work on making a garland. Move this over. All right. I'm gonna move my camera a bit. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so I had these, but I found them at the dollar store. All right. So they're already leaf cut out. That way you don't have to cut them out. They're already done. You could embellish some more. There's different ones. And so I thought we would make like a garland. So you could do them all the same. Let me close this up. There's the top of the glue. And we could plan it out. We could put this one here, this one here. You could always keep adding more stuff. We could even find some other leaves that we could put on. I'm just getting this started. So this could work on sequencing, on a pattern. So we could just do that. Now, I'm not going to use glue. I'm going to use these pop dot tape. Say that 5 times fast. All right. So I have a few. I have this one cut. So I'm going to cut a couple pieces. And it's sticky. So, yeah. All right. So we have to turn this over. We have to get this. This is the fun part, getting that sticky part off the back. I can see it, and I got it, and so, talk about we might get frustrated. I'm going to stick that there. Sometimes it's better if you stick it on the, and you know, we can always go back and put glue. I just found these in my box. So this might be something that would give some of our friends a bit of a challenge. But then there's others that would do really good. So again, we need to know our folks. And I see this might even need to be glued down. But we're just playing today, remember? Okay, I have one more piece, so let's put one more. Gonna move this down. Put that there. So we have the start of a garland. Whoop, that one didn't stick. All right, so this one might need more of the glue. So I have my Fabri-Tac here. See, we learn together, depending on the material that it's made out of, will determine what adhesive will work. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over because we need to let this sit a bit. And I'll just hold that down for a second. All right, so let's leave that alone. I'll come back later and check on that and let you know if it's stuck. All right, I'm gonna move that, but that's something you could do if you didn't want to use. You could even put paper ones on there. You could get a string and glue, cut these out and tape them or glue them to some string, and there you have a garland. Okay, I'm going to put my cover on my glue. All right. Okay, I'm gonna come back up. Let's see. There, that's better. So, we've been at it for a half hour. That's usually a good amount of time. How many of you know that the folks you work with, if we work with them a really long time, their attention, how much of our attention span varies with what we're doing. Sometimes we can get focused for a long time. But sometimes for our folks, at least the folks that I work with, if I break it up into smaller segments, even if we did this now, and then this afternoon we did more, and then maybe the evening, and more folks will be home from day program or whatever, and then they can participate. So before dinner, after dinner, maybe just a few at a time, that's okay too. So what I did today is I tried to show you different ways you can do this fun fall activity with leaves, coloring leaves, using crayons, watercolors, water-soluble crayons, no crayons at all, by just getting items that we have and using them. You know, we've even done napkin art. You could use napkins. So, and then putting it all together, making it something functional, purposeful, which I love when we can use the things we've made and put them to good use. So, yes, so we did crayons. Remember, we just did, this one was just regular paper. We have cardstock, and we did watercolor paper. Lots of different ideas. Lots and lots and lots. And remember that we can always outline it so it's a little thicker and easier for someone to see when they're cutting. And just to visualize the boundaries a little bit better. So, I'm really hoping you got some good ideas today on our Make It Monday. So I think we'll be doing mostly fall stuff this month. And yeah. So last year we did some napkin art on a pumpkin. We might do that. What do you think? Did you like that? I've made, I'm going to see if it's, hold on, I'm going to lean over. We've really been doing a lot of tidbits of art. So I did some tidbits of art using the napkins on these little pieces. And we did the leaves, little inspirational pieces of art. This one says, take a breath. Good thing for a Monday, huh? Be brave is what that says. And go where your heart takes you. So, what do you think of those? We've made these to hang on things or put magnets on the back. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you like these? So, yeah, I have maybe more napkin art next week. I have lots of fall napkins that we can use them in lots of different ways. So you put comments. Did you like the idea of using the napkin art? Do you have any napkins with fall stuff on them? You can go to the dollar store, or if you're just out and about, or maybe somebody you know has napkins. Say, can I have one of those? So think about it. Use your voice to ask and just think. All right? All right, you guys have a great Monday. And I get to now clean up and think about what's next on the agenda. All right? All right, guys, have a great day. Thanks for joining in. And if you're watching on the replay, thanks for watching there too. I so appreciate it. But make comments below. Let me know what you think. Did you like this? What would you do? And, Pam, I don't know about that. You can let me know that too. I'd appreciate it. All right, guys, have a great day.